Hello and welcome to Sports Frenzy with me, Jones. Hope you're well and safe and doing well. There's a lot of madness, I should put it, going on in the world of football, especially Monday morning. Usually on a day like this, you tend to reflect on games that took place over the weekend. Little did we know that last night, breaking news, European Super League. What is it? Who's involved? And what is it? I know a lot of people are asking this particular question. And before I introduce my guest, let me just read a few, let me give you the gist of what this is all about, okay? Now, so this is what's happened. 12 of Europe's leading football clubs have announced that they have agreed to establish a new midweek competition, the European Super League, governed by its founding clubs. The proposal involves clubs forming their own competition to rival the UEFA Champions League. And let's talk about clubs that are involved. So the Premier League's big six clubs, Manchester United, Manchester City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, and Tottenham are all involved. Some clubs you can say relatively big clubs now if you look at the history. Man United and Liverpool, definitely, and also Arsenal. So, in the other clubs across Europe, you have AC Milan, Atletico Madrid, Barcelona, Inter Milan, Juventus, have all joined as founding clubs. It is anticipated a further three clubs will join ahead of the inaugural season, which, according to the clubs, is intended to commence as soon as practicable. Okay, and joining me today to discuss this particular issue is John Warrington, sports journalist, and also Idris Adesina, sports pundit. Thank you guys for joining me. Let me come to you first, John. When you heard the news, your reaction?
Oh, absolutely furious, Jones. It's a betrayal of fans of these particular clubs. It's a betrayal of every fan who supports a football club, because this Super League is going to have an impact on every club, filtering right down through the pyramid. It's a betrayal of a sport which, as was going around on social media yesterday, it's a betrayal of a sport that was founded by the poor and now been stolen by the rich. I'm absolutely furious.
Wow, yourself, Idris?
Yeah, I got caught up within this bubble. I didn't know where exactly to go. Part of me wants Arsenal to keep playing in the big league, even if for now we don't merit it. That part of me supported the idea of the Super League. The other part is exactly what is going to happen as the word is has said. What is going to happen? Who are they going to buy new players into this? Because if the same player that play in the league, that play in Europa League, is being summoned now. I don't know how much consultation they have with these players, or is being ordered. Don't let me use this with someone ordered now to go and play another midweek, which by the standard of the kind of money they want to share there is superior to every other thing. That means the attention is going to be to that. What happens to the quality of our league, which is our happiness? That is where I stand. I mean, I'm somehow the Arsenal in me wants to continue to play in Europe, in the league in Europe, to compete with the best. But my worry again is what happens to these players? What happens to their strength? What happens? I mean, they just become a slave in the hands of the owners who don't even care about their mental health, who don't care about their how much game are they going to play? Because I mean, this is where I belong there. I'm somehow confused there.
Okay, so I heard the news. I think I was actually scrolling on social media, and a former teammate of mine posted something about it, and I couldn't believe it. So I quickly went online and read about it, and I thought, my first reaction was, as a fan, as an ex-professional footballer myself, I was thinking, what on earth? Who are the people behind this? And when did they start talking about this to make to even come this far? And on the second thought, after upon reading a few articles, I realized You know, at the end of the day, there's a power struggle here. You have the sports, and then you have the business.
Well, it's done that for a number of years, Jones, one could argue. When you see the way that, football, I remember the first £1 million transfer 40 years ago, and now we're talking in excess of 100. So money's always, the business side of sport has always had an impact, but it was always within the confines of what was essentially still a community. Football clubs are centres of the communities in their towns and in their cities. And yes, money has always played a huge role in that, but never to the point where it's got where they've created what is now going to be a closed shop. There will be no promotion. There will be no relegation. It's against the whole ethos of our game.
But then Idris, looking at it, of course, I've listened to a lot of fans, United fans, City fans, Liverpool fans, Tottenham fans, really against it. As John said, and I think you also mentioned it, that how even football started is just about representing your community. But now looking at where football is now, it's a big, it has become commercialized, and one would think that here we are, 21st century, football has changed. As John said, he remembers when the player was first bought for 1 million. Now that has moved on. Even lower leagues, the championship players are going for more than that. So here we are. The big guns have come in, new, if you want to call them, new generation of owners of clubs. And they see as this is the right way to go. We're going to come to the UEFA and FIFA and the FA in a minute. But here it is. At the end of the day, they're all about making money. Does it really matter the fact that people feel connected to their club, knowing full well that at the end of the day, your club will be playing against Real Madrid, Barcelona, AC Milan? Is that really a factor now? The fact that people feel as though this is our club and this is what we want?
My worry is this is where we have to demonstrate the power of the fans now. Back to where you started from. This idea was first mooted about 2 years ago. It was just a flash. And all these liars denied it at that particular time. But we know in football, it's everything about money. And you has rightly alluded, it's about power struggle between UEFA, these club owners. They thought they aren't getting enough share of the money from the club. But where I get so crossed, where we are just mentioned of no relegation, come on, how are you going to love football without the struggle between the small and the big clubs? We just want to see one team always, no relegation, nothing. No, that's not football. Football is about competition. Football is about the struggle between the big guns, and that's why the FA is the most popular football game in the whole world, because of the ability of the young ones to go against the super rich. But as it is now, this is where the fans, the football lovers, need to demonstrate how powerful they are.
Well, speaking of demonstration, Idris, I'm looking right now.
No, I'm not
on
talking in
social
terms
media.
of okay.
On media, Liverpool fans with black banners, with the writing, LFC fans against European Super League. Shame on you, RIP LFC 1892-2021.
Yeah. Yes, this is how it's going to begin. But I have a feeling within me that if all this pressure come to bear, we don't know how far they have gone, but with the statement of intent, with the resignation from European associations and co, it means they want to push ahead. They have made up their mind to do it. The only people who can sanction them now are the footballers themselves. Because these footballers are just mere commodity to them now.
I understand.
We just buy them, we use them.
But then that would be very difficult because footballers have signed their contract, isn't it, John? They
didn't sign contract with Europa League. They didn't sign the contract with the Super Europa League. This is where the law will also come into play.
All right.
There's no contract. When you are signing your contract, you know too well that these are issues. These are things. Nobody has signed contract with Super League now.
All right. Let me just come before you come in here, John, quickly. Because as things stands, if they decided to go ahead, these clubs would be omitted from the Premier League. And one will question this is just a posturing because these clubs have been at loggerheads with UEFA over money for some time now, and UEFA have said they're looking to revamp, they're looking to restructure because UEFA distributes money how they want to distribute the money, and these clubs are saying that look, we make you the money. So the rights you're selling to external people outside, they want more money. And at the end of the day, clearly talks have broken down and they've not been taken seriously. And one might think, okay, this is just posturing, but this looks more like a position than just posturing, isn't it, John?
Oh, this looks more like a real deal. These things have been mooted many times down the years. In fact, Jurgen Klopp 2 years ago came out and said he hopes the Super League never happens. FIFA, UEFA, the Premier League, they've all got to take a huge share of the blame. As organisations, they are racked with greed, all looking for their own little power bases in football. UEFA particularly, they mooted that they were going to launch a third competition. I know in Europe we used to have 3 competitions with the Cup Winners' Cup, the UEFA Cup, as well as the European Cup. They're now they merged 2 of them. They now want to bring out a third competition and redistribute the money. But the point is, the redistribute. But it comes to that. It's not so much about the redistribution of money that these clubs are angry about. Is they feel that they're not getting enough. They don't care about the clubs in Eastern Europe. They don't care about the Leicester Cities, who 5 years ago won the league and reached the quarterfinals of the Champions League. They don't care about those. They just want more for themselves because they are greedy.
Idris?
It looks like that. But let's come to talk about the business aspect of it. Let's come to talk about the pool of resources we're talking about here. I mean, these clubs, whether we like it, undoubtedly have made this money for UEFA. I don't think the Premiership, you see, there are so many ramifications for this. If these 6 big, the so-called clubs are eliminated from the Premiership, where is the pool of the Premiership going to come from? Where is the resources from the advertisers? Because primarily, these are the people that pull the biggest crowd. Let's look at it. What's the size of the Liverpool Stadium, Arsenal Stadium, these clubs? What's the size of Leicester City? What's the size of Aston Villa? Let's look at it. By the time you go there, they make more money for these clubs. And it's reasonable for me, as an entrepreneur, a small entrepreneur, that you go to an agreement, you treat the biggest pool of the money more with respect. That's what I think about it. There's no respect here for the big clubs.
There's plenty of, no, I've got to disagree. There's plenty of respect for the big clubs, and that respect comes through the distribution of huge prize money allocated on leagues' positions. And you know what? The reason the Premier League is the most successful, both in terms of viewership and in terms of revenues generated, is because teams like Sheffield United can go to Old Trafford and thump Manchester United. It's because Arsenal can play at home to Fulham as they did yesterday. And nick a 97th minute winner, and yet Arsenal in 9th or 10th place are part of the Super Six. It's an absolute joke.
I agree to that extent. Completely agree with you that the power of the Premiership is about that struggle between the big and the club. But again, the issue is, ever since this, because I don't believe this Super League is about coronavirus crisis. No, the idea was first flash even before the outbreak of this. It's about the power struggle among them. But my worry is particularly the players. How many games are they going to play?
But another key point about the players, though, is that they might be banned from playing for their countries. What about someone like Harry? Hang on, Jones. What about someone like Harry Kane, whose personal ambition is to become England's record goal scorer? That could be snatched away from him. It could be snatched away from him, and it'd be interesting. at some point for the players' views to come out, because there is nobody involved with football who wants this to happen. From what I'm hearing from players, from managers, and certainly the fans, the media, the only people that want this to happen are these greedy owners.
And let's talk a bit about the wage structure here, because you mentioned money, and we also talked about how greedy they are. I mean, where will it end? I mean, if we look at the wage structure now.
Precisely. And what happens in 10 or 15 years' time when you got players earning, I don't know, 2 or 3 million a week, and the clubs need more money? What happens then? At the moment, that they are trying to create a franchise model equivalent to the NFL. What happens in 10 or 15 years' time? Do owners move their clubs to new cities, new countries even, where there's more revenue opportunities? Because it's going to go that way. Football is in real danger now. And
of course, we've seen
the
Arsenal owner moved his former franchise from his base to a new base in the US, which pays him very well. But again, we look at this now is where I believe I have this view that this thing might not go well and might not go again is where FIFA imposes ban on players from representing their country. That is where the big problem is going to lie. What is going to happen to the quality of African Cup of Nations, where all these talents who have been exposed outside are banned and refuse to allow and play for their country, the only thing that matters to them in their life, apart from the wages they earn. That is good. And that's why I said this is the real time to show these owners to look at where exactly the power of football, where it lies. But again, I don't trust FIFA. I don't trust UEFA. That's my worry there.
I don't think many people trust UEFA, and certainly FIFA. There's been all sorts of corruption issues with all football governing bodies down the years. However, at least they are open to some sort of overview. Sepp Blatter was forced to step down because of that. Who's going to overview this lot? They're going to finance it. They're going to have their teams in it. They're going to own it. There's no oversight. It would be the most corrupt organization of the lot.
Okay, let's look at this because the likes of Bayern Munich and Dortmund will not join the breakaway Super League, according to a statement. So the two clubs, as well as the German Football Association,
they are not planning to join now.
Are committed to the European Club Association, the ECA, and are backing UEFA's proposed reforms to the Champions League instead. Now, it's interesting here, and I think this is actually crucial to the discussion we're having. This is to do with owners of clubs making decisions which will impact the club in a massive way. Here we are. If the breakaway clubs had the support of the Germans, then I'm sure this was set in stone. But there's a reason why this is not happening. And I just want to get this up. I mean, the Germans have a system where the fans own more like 50 plus 1% of the shares. So for any such decisions to be made, they have to consult the stakeholders.
No, they have to consult their largest shareholders.
Which are the fans. And here we are. We don't have that system in place here in England, John.
No, it's not. It's not as put into the system as it is in Germany. Funny, I was talking to Tony Woodcock this morning, the ex-Nottingham Forest striker who won, who won the European Cup twice with unfashionable Nottingham Forest, but he also played for Cologne, and he was talking about the German model, and his own view is that no German side will ever join the Super League, because not just because of the structure, but the fans themselves actually like the status quo the way it is, and he can't see any German club ever wanting to join in with this Super League, and it's a structure that many fans in this country have been calling for many years, particularly at Manchester United. The Glazer takeover of the club in 2005 from the stock market was highly unpopular, has remained hugely unpopular through the intervening 16 years. No investment into the stadium. Old Trafford, which was once, the crowning glory of English football. You go to Old Trafford now, inside, it's not derelict, but it's certainly fallen way behind some of the other stadia in this country. The infrastructure of the training academy is not what it once was. Little investment into the club. The club itself was bought on a leverage buyout, meaning that, as we all know, the debt was the cost of the club was then heaped upon the club itself as debt, and so therefore it should be no surprise that this is hugely unpopular amongst Manchester United supporters. But going back to the ownership, a huge number of United fans left the club after the Glazer takeover and set up their own club, FC United. There are other examples of fan ownership. Obviously, Wimbledon jumps to mind when their then owner Charles Koppel moved the club to Milton Keynes, and fans of Wimbledon set up their own club, and now back in the Football League. And Portsmouth, of course, went through, I think it was 6 owners in 7 years. The fans bought the club before selling it to Michael Eisner, the former chairman of Disney. And it's a model which certainly amongst the fans themselves is hugely is the way that the fans of many clubs want to go. Will it happen here? I doubt it. There's too much money being invested by foreign owners. But there surely has to be some sort of governing, even government. It's got to the point now where the government needs to step in and protect the heritage of these clubs and demand that some sort of voice, some sort of ownership must be awarded to fans. It may not go as far as they have done in Germany, but there needs to be some sort of balance of power.
Yeah, we had Boris Johnson yesterday. I mean, blabbing. Let me use the word blabbing. That I don't know how much power the government has over an independent business organization, a government that is struggling to create resources, and the pool of resources of the Premier League is so astonishing that I don't want to know how much government wants to get involved. We had the Prime Minister yesterday saying he would do everything possible to make sure that this never happens in the Premiership. And according to what Jonah said, how much involvement government wants to get involved in this, a government that is facing the election now. But I think the fans here still have a crucial role to play. Whether we like, and I still believe litigation can stop this. If fans get together and approach a court of competent jurisdiction now, and this could be delayed by a call until a decision is made by the court, and that could give us some respite in this.
I think we're overestimating what the owners think of the fans, to be honest. I don't think the owners, and I think they've proven down the years time and time again what they really think of the fans, which is nothing. And it's going to need more than a fan's voice. It's going to need some sort of legislation. It's going to need some sort of changes in the law. The lawyers of the Super League this morning have already come out and said that if the Premier League, if UEFA, if FIFA take action, if they want to ban them from domestic leagues, that the lawyers for the Super League have already said they think that due to competition law, that they would win any such cases. So it's not a give me that the actions that are being threatened by the local leagues and associations, well, unfortunately, it may not come to pass.
I keep saying my worry. My worry is the power of the Premiership is about the ability for these big and small clubs to come together, and I mean that's where the competition is. If these 6 clubs are excluded from the Premiership, where is the layer of the Premiership? Where is the money power of the Premiership going to come from?
Well, we'll never see a Leicester City example of 5 years ago. Or as I mentioned earlier, I spoke to Tony Woodcock this morning and what he did with Nottingham Forest back in the 70s. Those sort of things will never happen. I remember everybody knows that Manchester United were the first club to ever enter the European Cup. It was without the blessing of the Football League, but it was in those days it was pioneering a desire to expand football boundaries and to learn new experiences. But the integrity of the game was there back in the 50s in terms of the European Cup was open to all. There was a promotion and relegation scenario, if you like. United lost lives. Their team was decimated. People lost lives competing in the European Cup. So there's a lot of emotion for United fans attached to this particular competition as well. And football isn't just about balance sheets. It really isn't. It might be to a small group of people, but to millions and millions of people worldwide, football is more than balance sheets. It's tradition, it's emotion, it's all there. And it's something that owners of football clubs have never understood, never tried to understand, and never will. And they've proven it yet again.
But then I also want us to look at this, John and Idris. The big six, the clubs here in England, are not saying they don't want to play in the Premiership.
No,
right.
No. But that again is missing the point, Jones. Because what's going to happen then? All right, yeah, there are gaps between the rich clubs and the not so rich club within the Premier League, but that gap will get even greater, and that will. And you know what? If they're allowed to compete in both competitions, it will make the Premier League as an organisation almost as corrupt as the Super League, because you'll never see another Leicester City again. You'll never see another Nottingham Forest again. You'll never see a Sheffield United go to Old Trafford and win 3-2 again. You won't see that football anymore. It will kill the competition as well.
I agree completely, because of the sheer amount of resources that's going to be in their disposal. They will buy anything. As a matter of fact, it would affect the smaller clubs, because they will just throw money at players and agents will just jump at it. And that tells you that the value, the kind of value the smaller clubs get when they sell to bigger clubs will be completely eroded here.
And the arrogance of those clubs saying that they don't want to leave the Premier League but do that, it's just absolutely breathtaking, because they know this scenario is there, and it shows a total lack of respect for their fellow clubs, not just in the Premier League, but the clubs below, going down right throughout the pyramid. They know that. They just want to grasp everything for themselves. They want one of their clubs to win the league every year, to win this every year. They don't care about the competition. They don't care about the fans. They care about one thing, and that is money. It's pure and utter greed.
Yeah, what sort of power can government wield here?
Okay, Idris, before we come to that, let me just play a bit of a devil's advocate here. As an Arsenal fan yourself, Idris, and a Man United fan yourself, if you had a situation where week in, week out, you see Manchester United played against Barcelona, Real Madrid, AC Milan, wouldn't you love to see your team up against the best of the world?
No.
Week in, week out?
No, because the joy, you know what? Watching United against Real Madrid, against Bayern Munich, against Juventus, against Barcelona, it was a special occasion. It was an occasion to look forward to. You'd sit and wait for the draw for the European Cup or later the group stages and see who you get. And you get Bayern Munich, and you'd be so excited if it was Bayern or Real or Barcelona. It was something to look forward to. It's going to become normal now. Where can you go up from that? And there's also something about the pleasure of going to places like Southampton and Brighton and all these other clubs, or getting teams like, I don't know, Colchester in the FA Cup or whoever. It's part of the fun of the whole competition. It will just become ordinary and boring, and it will be rich people playing against rich people. And in these league scenarios that they're planning, without the relegation aspect, How boring is it? If 4 teams, 5 teams, 6 teams in each of these groups break away, what are those last games going to be like in those groups? Half a season of boredom. You've got 2 clubs who've got no chance of making the quarterfinals of this knockout stage. What are those games going to be like?
I also worry for young talents.
It's going to be like watching the Scottish Football League every week.
No, it's changing now.
It's going to be like that. No, you'll be exactly.
Taking over now from
but that's it. That's it. It's Celtic and Rangers. How boring must it be to watch Partick Thistle versus Hamilton Academicals if there's nothing at stake?
I also worry for young talent because in this era of super rich, they want to bring the best of the players to compete in there because that to them is a lot of money. Then what happens to development of the local players, the young players whose interest is always. I mean, we had the stories about mentorship. We had the stories about young players who break into the Premier League and being kicked by the bigger boys. Now they are big boys on themselves. We have about the initiation, the ceremony. We all like to listen to this small. It's the joy. You love to hear it. You love to hear the stories. All these things will disappear because it's about who buys what. It's always about the biggest of the players. And where lies the younger players? I mean, you all know what happens when younger players who live local break into the big clubs. It's a joy. When they are leaving for another club, it's a big problem. We love to see. Imagine Rashford. Rashford is a local player in Manchester United. You see the way he's written in Qatar. He's a local player in Arsenal. We know so many local players who their life depends on that club, and it's taken away from them. It's a problem, yeah.
And also we mustn't forget that these big 6 clubs also have an issue with the Premier League because to do with what is it? The TV rights.
It's always about
to overseas broadcasting rights to overseas. Yeah. And I mean, let's listen to their point.
No, Jones. No, Jones. But what that is just pure greed again. What these clubs, it's one club in particular. It's my club. It's Manchester United.
Yeah.
They have got MUTV, and they want the right to screen live games internationally, live outside the UK. But again, that's them being greedy. They're not thinking about the 20. They're thinking about themselves. There are 20 clubs in the Premier League. Those TV rights internationally on the last international round brought in nearly 3 billion, which was shared equitably amongst the clubs. And that is right. A football competition.
I mean, I'm not being funny, John. I'm not being funny, John. But, you know, how many people are going to stay and watch, let's say, Burnley and Crystal Palace? People will stay and watch Man United, Manchester City. So they've got a point there.
No. But people will stay and watch Man United and Burnley.
Exactly.
Because even as I tell you, I was more afraid yesterday playing against Fulham than playing against United.
This takes it back to the point. They don't care about the Burnleys. They only care about the clubs of their own size, which is why they're doing this, because they know that they've all got roughly a huge number of fans. You know, they'll fill stadia between 50 and 70,000 plus in the case of Barcelona and Real Madrid. It's about the richest making themselves richer at the expense of everybody else.